Southpaws is financially supported by contributions from listeners like you. Help support independently produced media by going to patreon.com/Southpaws Radio.
For the hardest hitting show in talk radio, the true progressive voice since 2012. This is Southpaws.
And welcome to Southpaws on the Pacifica Radio Network. We are the leaders of the revolution. My name is Darren Gibson. I am your host today. Jack Prince is taking the day off. He's got some things that he's got to take care of. We hope to have him back next week. We might actually have a very special episode for you next week. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. But before we get started today, folks, a couple of reminders that you can follow us on social media by going to facebook.com/Southpaws Radio Show. You can follow us on Twitter at Southpaws Radio, and you can become a patron of the show. Help us pay the bills here by going to patreon.com/Southpaws Radio. And you can listen to us all across the country on your local Pacifica stations, and we want to say a hello to our friends at KCEI in Taos, New Mexico. Thank you for carrying our show. We also want to thank KZGM in Kabul, Missouri for carrying us. You can also listen to us every Monday night on Global Community Radio Channel 1. We are on at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're on right after Democracy Now! So again, thank you to the folks at Global Community Radio for carrying us. And we want to mention something real quick before we continue with the show today. We received some news earlier this week that it really made me sad, because this is a former guest of ours. The international president of the Amalgamated Transit Union, Larry Hanley, passed away earlier this week. Larry was a guest on the show when we were on a local Pacifica affiliate in Grand Rapids. We had Larry as a guest to talk about the Rapid bus drivers and mechanics who were represented by ATU, had been working for the Rapid for about 2 years. It might have been over 2 years without a contract. And so we had Larry on and we talked to him. Larry is, by all accounts, a great guy and a great union brother to have. Again, Larry passed away unexpectedly at his home earlier this week. I want to read this. This is a statement by Javier Perez, the International Executive Vice President for the Amalgamated Transit Union. It is with great sadness that I write to inform you that our beloved International President Larry Hanley passed away suddenly yesterday, and I believe that was posted on Wednesday, so he passed away Tuesday, I believe. Our heartfelt sympathies and condolences go out to his family at this very difficult time. This is an unfathomable and tragic loss for the ATU and the entire labor movement. As further details are available, additional information will be provided. And then I want to read this statement. This is from Larry's family. Here's what they wrote. It is with great sorrow to share with you that our dear husband, father, and brother, Lawrence J. Hanley, passed away on May 7, 2019. He devoted his life to the union movement and to the Amalgamated Transit Union. His fondest wish for the union now would be to continue your everyday efforts for the members, because they were always the ones on his mind. He shared his love of defending the defenseless with you in the hopes that the ATU would be a shining beacon in the labor movement, the country, and the world. We wish to thank you for all of your hard work and your careers furthering these goals, and wish you success as you continue in furtherance of them. As we go forward, the men and women of the ATU and the labor movement will always be in our hearts. We will never forget the joy and privilege he felt in his over 40-year career, fighting for the people who needed a champion. We are so proud of everything the ATU has done and will do for the working men and women of this country. It was an honor. And it's signed Thelma, James, Monica, and Lawrence Jr. They also included this quote from Mother Jones. where she says, "Pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living." And I have to agree with those sentiments from Mother Jones. Larry Hanley's funeral will take place on Tuesday, May 14th at 10 a.m. at Our Lady of Pity Church, 161 Richmond Road, Staten Island, New York. So any of our listeners in the Staten Island area, if you can make it out there, it would be greatly appreciated. The ATU is also asking for all of their locals and members to pause for a moment of silence on Tuesday, May 14th at 10 a.m. in honor of Larry Hanley. And Larry is very sadly going to be missed in the labor movement. So, Larry, thank you for your contributions and solidarity forever. Well, we have a pretty loaded show for you today, folks. I mentioned at the top of the show that Jack will be returning next week. We might actually air a very special episode that Jack and I recorded previously that we haven't released yet, where we talk about our activism, how Jack got started as an activist, and what kind of drives us as far as activism. That'll be a very special episode, so we might air that next week. Jack might be on his way to South Dakota next week to deliver more clothes to the Native American reservations there. And we'll have a story later in our Hammer Time segment about South Dakota, the Native Americans, and South Dakota's governor. So make sure you stick around for that. In the meantime, I want to get to this story. We've had a precipitous drop in the Dow Jones, and this is from NBC News. And this is by Lucy Bailey. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 300 points Friday morning, that's May 10th, after Donald Trump's threat to more than double tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese imports went into effect. The S&P 500 fell by 1.4% by mid-morning Friday, with the Nasdaq down 1.7% after the United States slapped a 25% tariff on more than 5,700 categories of goods shipped out of China as of 12:01 a.m. Friday morning. The extended market sell-off continues a volatile week on Wall Street as investors measured the likelihood of a resolution to months of trade negotiations between the world's two largest economies. Dow futures had been flat lower overnight after the midnight deadline passed for the two sides to salvage the deal, but sank 150 points early Friday after Trump tweeted, quote, "There is absolutely no need to rush the trade talks. Now the tariffs are being paid to the United States by China," end of quote. Despite Trump's assertions that China will absorb the cost of the tariffs, in reality, it is American consumers and manufacturers who will shoulder the burden in the form of higher prices paid for consumer goods. While Americans won't see any direct impact on their wallet right away, that situation will change over the next 3 months when manufacturers and retailers will receive and reprice containers of goods that are not currently in transit. Cargo that is already seaborne won't be taxed at the higher rate unless it arrives after June 1st, that according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The Chinese Commerce Ministry said Thursday that it hopes the United States can meet China halfway, make joint efforts, and resolve the issue through cooperation and consultation. Negotiations to overcome the impasse continued Friday morning between China's top trade negotiators, China's Vice Premier Liu He, and the American team led by U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer. The ratcheting up of trade tensions has left businesses, investors, and policymakers across the world concerned about the negative impacts on an already slowing global economy. Now, wait a minute. I thought Trump said the economy was doing great. Wait a minute. Trump lies? Like I said on the show, every time Donald Trump opens the hole between his nose and his chin, a lie tumbles out of it. Every single time. Nothing has changed. It's going to remain the same because he's nothing but a liar. Yeah, the guy that lost $1 billion over a 10-year period from 1986 to 1995 is a liar. He's a cheat. He's a con man. He's a scam. He talks out of both sides of his neck. And I tell you what, you Trump supporters that are still listening to this show, you are rubes. Grow a brain. Use it. Learn cognitive thinking. Because if you're going to be a puppet, you might as well have Trump stick his hand up your backside, because that's where it is now. Speaking of up their backside, I've got this story next. Out of Alabama, this is from ABC News by Megan Kennelly and Azur Gilman. This is dated May 9th. Lawmakers in Alabama have delayed a vote on a proposed abortion ban amid anger that exceptions were taken out of the bill for victims of rape and incest. Some lawmakers were visibly upset about the removal of the amendment from the Senate version, and debate on the bill has been delayed until next week, according to the Associated Press. The Alabama bill would make it a felony punishable by up to 99 years imprisonment for a doctor to perform an abortion in the state, that according to a story published by the Washington Post. The bill includes an exception if there is a serious risk to the health of the woman. The bill is the latest in a spate of new bills restricting abortion access in several states. Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Ohio have all passed so-called heartbeat bills that would prohibit abortion after a fetal heartbeat is detected, which can be as early as 6 weeks of pregnancy. The Alabama bill, which is even more restrictive, has already passed the state's House of Representatives. Stacey Fox, president and CEO of Planned Parenthood, issued this statement to ABC News about the Alabama bill. Quote, "Yesterday, Senator Ward and the rest of the Senate Judiciary Committee heard from a local rape survivor who literally begged them to vote against this dangerous bill. I hope they take this opportunity to think critically about what this bill means for the women of this state and why women and doctors should be making these personal, private health care decisions, not politicians." End of quote. Fox previously told ABC News that Alabama's proposed abortion ban is blatantly unconstitutional and lawmakers know it. They just don't care. And you know what? She's right. They don't care. They want this to go to the Supreme Court. They want a challenge because they want to overturn Roe versus Wade. That's all Republicans care about. They don't care about how much money you're making. They don't care about if you're able to pay your bills. All they care about is what happens in your private bedroom and the aftermath of what happens in your private bedroom. If a woman gets pregnant, God forbid she have an abortion, we're pro-life. We separate children at the border from their parents when they illegally cross. Note the sarcasm dripping as I say that. But it's ridiculous, folks. These people are not pro-life. They're pro-fetus. There's a big difference. Continuing the story, Alabama lawmakers are keenly aware that the bill will be challenged in court if it eventually passes the state Senate. Terry Collins, a Republican member of the Alabama House of Representatives representing Dakota, previously told ABC News she hopes the law gets challenged and eventually rises to the level of the Supreme Court. Collins said, quote, "I heard it has a good chance of getting to the Supreme Court. We've had a lot of the pro-life lobbyists working on it. We have a lot of national groups working on it." End of quote. Well, there you go. That's just exactly what it is, and we've talked about it. We just talked about it on our last show. The whole Trump thing about abortion and late-term abortions. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And he lies about it. We played the clip on our last show about Trump lying about abortion and late-term abortions. And it's ridiculous. I think we might need to play that again. Should we? I mean, the words that come out of Trump's mouth are absolutely ridiculous. As a matter of fact, let's play those. This is from our previous show. Take a listen, folks.
The baby is born. The mother meets with the doctor. They take care of the baby. They wrap the baby beautifully. And then the doctor and the mother determine whether or not they will execute the baby. I don't think so. Incredible. No, it's incredible.
Oh, really? Yeah, that spiked our BS meter here at the studios. Yeah, this is all the Republicans care about, is what happens with a woman's vagina. That is a period, end of story to that. Like I said,